Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the incredible story of a man who went from being a quiet hermit to a legendary warrior. A man who literally shook the foundations of an empire. To really get a handle on this story, I think we have to start at the end, with the words of a man facing something unimaginable. Because if you want to understand his legacy, you first have to understand his conviction.
All right, so let's rewind. Our story doesn't start on a battlefield. No, it begins in a place of total peace, with a reclusive ascetic named Madho Das. He's living this life of meditation in solitude way out there by the Godavari River.
Now this guy, Madho Das, he was known for his mystical powers. He was proud, he was detached, and he really believed he'd mastered his own little world. But here's the thing, all that power was turned inward. He was completely cut off from the brutal reality unfolding just to the north, a world of tyranny and suffering he thought he'd left behind for good.
And he might have stayed that way forever. Except, one day, a visitor arrived. A visitor who wasn't impressed, who couldn't be intimidated by all his mystical tricks. This was Guru Gobind Singh, the 10th Sikh guru.
See, the guru looked right through the hermit's pride. He challenged that detachment head-on. He told him about the horrific persecution his people were facing under the Mughal Empire. He basically asked him, how can you just sit here and meditate while the world outside is burning with injustice?
And then, the guru told him a story, a personal, heart-wrenching story about his own family. This was the catalyst. This was the moment that a story of profound injustice just shattered that ascetic solitude and, changed him forever.
Just try to wrap your head around this. His two eldest sons, 17 and 13, they died in battle, fighting an army of thousands. And his two youngest, just 9 and 7 years old, they were captured. They were given a choice, give up your faith or die. They refused. And so, the governor, a man named Wazir Khan, had them bricked up alive.
Hearing that story, can you imagine? Madho Das was shaken to his very core. His whole life of passive spirituality, of just looking inward, it was completely shattered by the reality of that kind of evil.
And in that moment, he makes this pledge. He says, I am no longer Madho Das. I am your Banda, your slave. And this is so important. He wasn't just becoming a follower looking for some spiritual guidance. No, he was becoming an instrument of justice, a Banda, a slave to the cause.
This right here, this is one of the most dramatic transformations you'll find anywhere in history. The guru baptizes him, renames him Banda Singh Bahadur, which means Banda the Brave, and he arms him with his own personal sword and arrows. Just like that, the hermit is gone, reborn as a warrior with an absolutely epic mission.
So, Banda Singh heads to Punjab, but get this, he doesn't show up with some grand army. He arrives with a letter from the guru and a simple promise, a promise of justice for anyone who had been oppressed.
And what happened next is just extraordinary when you think about the matchup. On one side, you have the mighty Mughal Empire, right? Professional soldiers, endless resources, all the power of the state. And on the other side, you have Banda's army. But who was in it? Farmers, artisans, laborers, just everyday people who had suffered for generations. When they heard the guru's call to action, they flocked to his banner, creating a real, honest-to-goodness people's army.
And their campaign kicks off with these swift, symbolic victories. The hit sounds like Samana and Sadahora, which were notorious centers of Mughal oppression. But these weren't just military takeovers, you see. They were acts of retribution. They went after the very officials who had persecuted the guru's family and terrorized the people for years. And with every victory, the rebellion just grew stronger and stronger. Every single town they took, every battle they won, it was all leading to one place, the ultimate target, the heavily fortified city of Sirhind, and its governor, Wazir Khan, the very man who had ordered the murder of the guru's youngest sons.
So the stage was set for this huge, climactic showdown that would basically decide the fate of the entire region. The big question on everyone's mind was, could this army of peasants and rebels really take down the seat of Mughal power? All eyes were on them.
So, in May of 1710, at the Battle of Chapurchiri, it all comes to a head. Banda Singh's impassioned forces smash into Wazir Khan's professional army. And even though they were outnumbered, even though they were out-equipped, the sheer revolutionary zeal of this army, they were fighting for something they believed in with every fiber of their being. It just proved to be an unstoppable force.
Wazir Khan was killed in the battle. His army was completely routed, and the city of Sirhind, it fell. For the thousands upon thousands of people who had suffered under his tyranny, this was everything, a moment of profound, earth-shattering vindication. The symbol of their oppression was finally gone. Justice was done. That primary mission, the one given to him by the Guru, had been fulfilled. The vow that Madho Das the hermit made by the river was now sealed in blood and justice by Banda Singh the warrior.
But here's the thing. Banda Singh's work didn't just stop with revenge. Not at all. In fact, this was just the beginning of a full-blown revolution.
His real vision was so much bigger than just conquest. He went on to establish the very first sovereign Sikh state, the Khalsa Raj. And this new state was founded on principles of equality and justice. Think about this. He completely abolished the old oppressive landlord system. He literally gave the land to the people who actually farmed it. This wasn't just a new policy, it was a radical restructuring of their entire society.
And for 8 years, this new state, this Khalsa Raj, it fought off the full might of the Mughal Empire. I mean, the entire empire threw everything it had at them. But eventually, after years of relentless war, Banda Singh and his followers were besieged, they were captured, and they were taken to Delhi to be executed.
What happened to him was just horrific. His followers were executed in front of him day after day. They killed his own young son, Ajay Singh, right there in his lap. And yet, through all of that unimaginable torture, he remained defiant to the very end. So you see, his death wasn't a defeat. It was a martyrdom, one that cemented his legend and proved that you can kill a man, but you can't kill the spirit of rebellion.
And that spirit, it absolutely endured. His rule was short, only 8 years, which is just a blink of an eye compared to the centuries-old Mughal Empire. But in those 8 years, he laid the foundation. He planted the seed of what a sovereign state could be, a seed that would blossom decades later into the powerful Sikh empire under Maharaja Ranjit Singh. So it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How can one person's transformation from a detached ascetic into a committed warrior go on to inspire a nation for centuries? I think the story of Banda Singh Bahadur shows us that when a single person is awakened by a powerful call for justice, they can become a force that truly changes the course of history forever.